want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim?
Cross your eyes and scream, man! Scream for your life!
Welcome, I'm your Scream Queen, Jenica Olin. This is my 9th episode. My objective for this podcast is to delve into the themes of horror, both real and imagined. Each episode will cover one movie in depth based on a theme of the month. I'm starting the year off with the theme, Be Careful What You Wish For. So far in January, I've covered Hellraiser and Wishmaster in this theme. Today, I'm continuing with the movie Re-Animator. Some trivia about this movie. Barbara Crampton does all her own screaming, so she's our authentic scream queen. Stuart Gordon and Dennis Paoli originally intended to be faithful to H.P. Lovecraft's story, but the film ultimately had little in common with the short stories of H.P. Lovecraft, which was intended to be a parody of Frankenstein. H.P. Lovecraft never really liked his Re-Animator stories and only wrote them because he got $5 per installation. Or he got $5 per installment. The film was shot in only 18 days. 16 days was of principal filming and 2 days of pickups. The actors playing the reanimated corpses all worked out together at the YMCA to coordinate their movements as zombies, which is a really funny visual. I can just imagine like a group of people working out in the gym and then suddenly getting up and just moving around the gym like zombies. Like that's how they move from equipment to equipment. A quick layout of this podcast. Each episode will have an intro, brief synopsis of the movie, an analysis of the film, and then I get into the true crime of it all. I'm a huge true crime fan and I like to make connections between the true horrors that inspire our darkest imaginations. The truth is, the stuff on screen is way tamer than the horrors that take place every day. In today's episode, I'm covering Re-Animator, the 1985 cult classic directed by Stuart Gordon. It is a adaptation of the H.P. Lovecraft short stories, Re-Animator. Dennis Paoli and William Norris are the ones who adapted the short stories into the film. For our stars, we have Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Abbott, and Barbara Crampton. Let's set the scene with the synopsis of the movie.
Herbert West is at the top of his class in medical school.
How can you teach such dribble? These people are here to learn and you're closing their minds before they even have a chance.
He's brilliant, but a little weird.
I've broken the 6 to 12 minute barrier. I've conquered brain death.
His experiments have always been unorthodox.
It was dead.
But lately they're getting out of hand. And he's just made a discovery that could wake up the dead.
Herbert West has effected reanimation in dead animal tissue.
What are you thinking? How do you feel?
H.P. Lovecraft's classic tale of horror, Re-Animator. It will scare you to pieces.
At a medical school in Switzerland, a dean is called in to investigate a disturbance in one of the labs. When he enters with a policeman and nurse, they find one of the school's professors, Gruber, screaming in agony, and a med student, Herbert West, with him. Gruber's skin has turned purple and his eyes bulge until they explode, spewing blood. The stricken man falls dead, and the dean asks if West had killed the doctor, to which he replies, "No, I gave him life."
Very stuck. Of course he's dead. The dosage was too large.
You killed him.
No, I did not. I gave him life.
West arrives at Miskatonic University in New England in order to further his studies. He rents a room from medical student Dan Kane and converts the house's basement into his own personal laboratory. There is an instant animosity between West and faculty member Dr. Carl Hill. West declares that Hill stole the theory of brain death from West's late mentor, Dr. Gruber. Hill vows that West will never get a passing grade in his class.
Such dribble. These people are here to learn, and you're closing their minds before they even have a chance.
What are you here for, Mr. West?
You know, you should have stolen more of Gruber's ideas than at least to have ideas.
Dan has been carrying on a love affair with Megan, daughter of Miskatonic's medical school's dean, Dr. Halsey. Barbara and Dan know that if her father finds out about their relationship, Dan could be expelled. Dan discovers that West has reanimated his dead cat, Rufus, with a glowing reagent, which West recruits Dan as his partner in research to defeat death. Dan's fiancée Megan dislikes West, especially after discovering Rufus reanimated in a state of dismemberment.
No! Yes, you will. That is why I brought the infernal beast back to life in the first place. Don't expect it to tango. It has a broken back.
Hill manages to turn Dr. Halsey against both West and Dan. Barred from the school, they sneak into the morgue to test the reagent on a human subject in an attempt to salvage their medical careers. The corpse revives and goes on a rampage, attacking the duo. Halsey stumbles upon the scene, originally to force them out of the morgue for trespassing. And despite attempts by both West and Dan to save him, he is killed by the reanimated corpse. Armed with a bone saw, West dispatches the reanimated cadaver, unfazed by the violence and excited at the prospect of working with a freshly dead specimen. West injects Halsey with the reagent. Halsey returns to life, but in a zombie-like state. Hill discovers West's work and gains guardianship over Halsey, who he puts in a padded cell adjacent to his office. Dan and Megan break into Hill's office, where they find evidence that Hill is obsessed with Megan and has lobotomized her father. Hill has gone to confront West in the basement lab and threatens to blackmail him to continue his research so that Hill can take credit for West's reagent. While Hill is distracted, West hits, then decapitates Hill with a shovel. Overcome with curiosity, West reanimates both Hill's head and body. While West is questioning Hill's head and taking notes, Hill's body knocks him unconscious. The body carries the head and steals West's reagent, returning to Hill's office.
Yes, Doctor. It's Herbert West. What are you thinking? How do you feel?
Exercising mind control over Halsey, Hill sends him out to kidnap Megan. West and Dan track Halsey to the morgue, where they find Hill's body holding his head in a compromising position over a restrained Megan. West distracts Hill while Dan frees Megan. Hill reveals that he has reanimated and lobotomized several corpses from the morgue to do his bidding. However, Megan manages to get through to her father, who fights off the other corpses long enough for Dan and Megan to escape. In the ensuing chaos, Halsey is torn into pieces by the corpses after he destroys Hill's head. West injects Hill's body with what he believes is a lethal dose of the reagent, which began to destroy Hill's body. Hill's body mutates horribly and attacks West, who screams out to Dan to save his work as he continues fighting. He is dragged towards the monstrosity, his fate unrevealed. Dan retrieves the satchel containing West's reagent. As Dan and Megan run from the morgue, one of the reanimated corpses attacks and kills Megan. Dan takes her to the hospital emergency room and tries in vain to revive her. In despair, he injects her with reagent. Just after the scene fades to black, Megan screams, implying that her reanimation has backfired. Now it's time to talk horror, and my guest today is Anthony Roman. Anthony is part of the Conduit family, and he's the guitarist for Trash Panda. They are a really fun heavy metal band. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Is there anything you're working on that you would like to tell my audience? Whatever that is.
It's funny because we're doing a tour, I guess, and one of the shows is going to Conduit. But I took advantage of the opportunity of the tour, and I'm like, okay, so we set up a single to release right before the tour, and then we're going to be playing it on the tour to kind of push it and do that whole thing. So we got a new song coming out on the 17th.
Oh, okay. What is the song called?
Discovered in the Crawl Space.
Cute. Yeah. You guys are very silly.
Yeah, it's very fun.
All right, so the tagline of Re-Animator is "Death is just the beginning," which is a really good tagline.
Oh, it sets the tone for the whole movie. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
The Dr. Hill says that the body or the brain can live for 6 to 12 minutes.
6 to 12 minutes, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
But then Herbert is saying that that's not true. Yes.
Yeah, he goes, frankly, your research on brain death is, he just completely roasts him and insults him.
Yeah.
Like, amateurish. He said basically it's plagiarized off a much better doctor. So.
Yeah, and it's outdated and all these things.
Outdated.
And he's like, you're a sham. You shouldn't be teaching this class. Like,
he could straight up roast him, dude. It's like the first thing he does, too.
It's very brutal. I would be very pissed if I was Hill and that was my class. I mean,
and that dude just comes in like, who the fuck are you, bro?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. West is right, but that's one thing about West. Herbert West is like, he's an egomaniac.
Yeah, you could argue he's arrogant, but from his point of view, he doesn't think that at all.
No, because he's a complete narcissist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So.
And he's petty. He is petty. He's Tom Petty in the Heartbreakers, dude.
Yeah, he's petty. He's very funny. Like, there are so many things that he says that it's like, I don't know, just very dry observational humor.
He's an I told you so. That's and he just has a smirk. He goes, see what I said? Told you.
So I have a few different notes on this movie. I guess there was a subplot with Dr. Hill where he was supposed to be able to read minds.
Well, he was a hypnotist, so he would manipulate people. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was his area of study, as if hypnotism is real.
Also hilarious when you think about the fact that he's a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's able to do it apparently a little bit in the director's cut. I'm glad they dropped this subplot.
Yeah, no, I don't think that it adds to it. But, I mean, he kind of has to be, right, to, I guess, direct his own body and what to do. Well,
that's funny. They never explained that. But, I think the assumption without that was that he was just of a higher intelligence than most people. He was smarter because he's a brain surgeon. So maybe that's how. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm glad that they dropped that too. I don't think it adds anything to it.
Yeah, or the fact that, I don't know if you have this written down, so hopefully I'm not jumping, but the fact that Herbert is a heroin, the heroin illusion. Do you remember that part of the director's cut?
No.
No, so there's a scene where right before the end where they go back to the hospital and all the hell breaks loose. He goes, "Oh, we can't leave you, and I need it." And then he takes the reagent and injects himself with it. Does the whole belt around the fucking bicep and injects reagent straight into him.
He's a heroin addict?
Very much a heroin illusion. And then I think they took it out, which I think is a good call because it was like you're kind of rooting. He's already an anti-hero. You're kind of rooting for a heroin addict though at this point, you know.
Yeah.
Good. I think it's good they dropped that plot, but it's a crazy scene. You have to watch it.
What I mean, why would he? Do you know what is actually in the reagent?
No,
make it glow.
I don't remember what the chemical is called, but I do remember that it was used before Predator used it.
It's just glow stick stuff.
Oh, really? That's it?
It's just glow sticks.
Genius. Imagine getting injected with glow stick juice.
It's
I'm just saying.
It's very toxic. I remember being a kid and like having glow sticks.
Oh, it's actually toxic?
Yes, they're toxic.
And they give it to kids, dude? I had no idea.
You're not supposed to. It says, like, there's the warning label that says it's toxic, but I remember, like, doing, like, all the, like, glow stick stuff at, like, I don't know, the skating rink as, like, a teenager, and then the glow stick would break in your mouth or something. I don't know why I was putting it in my mouth, but it would break in your mouth, and then you'd take it, just, like, the worst taste, and I'm surprised. I mean, I guess I would have been a junkie just like Herbert West.
Well, I mean, we're glad you're still here.
Yeah, no, I didn't die of like reagent poisoning.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's what it should be called, just reagent glow. That's the name for it. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
Marketing. So I did want to talk a little bit about the budget for this movie. So I guess the budget was like $900,000. They made $2 million worldwide. But some of the props and stuff are like super janky. Like the padded room. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm gonna say? Maybe. I
don't know about this one.
So the padded room was like it kept collapsing whenever.
See, I don't know about this.
Yeah. So the one that Dean Halsey was in.
Yeah.
There's like that scene where there's like the glass. You know, I would think it's a two-way mirror, and there's the padded room. But he was like at first. I guess he was like moving around too much. He was being too aggressive and he was knocking over the walls. So they had to, you'll notice like the scenes, he's in the middle of the room instead of like knocking into the walls. But there's, I guess, a scene with like one of the nurses. There are two nurses that are taking him into the room. He like tosses one of them. She hits the wall and you can see it wobble in the film.
Oh my gosh. I've probably subconsciously noticed it because now you think about it, but I that's hilarious. No, I didn't know.
Yeah, it just made me think about the budget. I guess like the most of the budget was like blown on blood.
Yeah, it's pretty like honestly, the effects are pretty amazing for the year. It's awesome. So I would imagine wisely so that they put most of the budget into the actual effects stuff.
Do you know how many gallons of fake blood they used?
No.
I want you to guess. How many gallons? I will tell you I'll give you a ballpark, between 10 and 50 gallons of blood. How many gallons do you think they used?
I'm going to definitely closer to 50 than 10. I feel like it was a lot. 45.
Well, I kind of give it was like the halfway, 24 gallons.
Oh, okay.
24 gallons of blood.
Right down the middle.
But I guess like the guy who was doing the special effects, like John Nolan, he said like the most he had ever used on a film before this was 2 gallons of blood.
Jesus Christ.
So to have 24 gallons of blood is, I think it was like actually dangerous at some point because people were afraid they would like slip and fall on blood.
Oh yeah. I imagine the documentary said that for the brain surgery part, or like the when they do the inspection in the beginning, it was a real cow brain.
Oh.
Which is.
Did you know the cat was real?
No.
In the fridge.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
the one that was in the fridge at least. I mean, not like after it's like back is broken and stuff, and you like that's not a real cat. But the cat in the refrigerator, whenever
that's so upsetting. I love cats. That's so upsetting.
I know. It is really upsetting. Like I mean, so Dan is not nearly as upset about his cat's death as I think he should have been.
Oh, at all. He was just like, what are you doing with my cat, bro? That's literally what it is. It's like, oh. You know.
He's like, what do you mean? He's like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, he refuses to give him, like, if I remember, he just goes, no, watch. He just immediately tries to resurrect the cat to prove his point. And I think that actually works because he goes, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, because instead of being worried about his cat, that scene bothered me so much because I was like, that cat is in so much pain. Its back is broken. It's like, and you're bringing it back to life. Like, I can't imagine how much pain that creature is in. Or maybe none. I don't know, just depending.
Well, he does. What does he say? He goes. I don't expect it to be happy. Its back is broken.
Yeah.
So he knows. It's definitely in pain. They come live screaming. Some of them. Was it the Arnold Schwarzenegger dude was screaming when he
the big one, one that whenever they snuck into the what is that room called?
The morgue, I guess. It was crematorium.
The morgue, and they find the guy who had died of heart failure. That guy. Yeah.
And they bring him back, and he's just not happy.
Oh no! And he's like super buff and naked.
And then they do.
And he's a cannibal. He ends up being a cannibal.
Yeah, he ends up eating them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then what does he say? Herbert West goes, "Oh, I must have given him too much." That's all he says. It's like.
I found it, talking about, the mind control stuff, I did find it really interesting how they had to, he had to lobotomize dead people to control them. Mm-hmm. The fact that they were already dead wasn't enough. They had to also be lobotomized. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's another thing I think that was explained in that plot that they kind of dropped because, no, you're right, though, because if he initially hypnotizes him, after the dad turns into gets reanimated, he initially hypnotizes him and lobotomizes him and hypnotizes him, something like that. But just involved in that too. Yeah. Yeah, but then we just accept it for what it is.
Yeah,
Which I think it works.
It's sci-fi. It's sci-fi. It works. They can do whatever they want at this point. We're talking about people being injected with glow sticks, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting, both West and Dr. Hill are both villains. Mm-hmm. They're not, West is by no means, he's not a good guy. He's a villain in the movie.
I root for him, though. I'm just
I do. I mean, you're rooting for him and, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But, okay, so what I wrote down is that he's not your average. He's a benign villain. Because he's not killing the living, except for Dr. Hill. Mm-hmm. He kills him. But he kills him and he calls him a plagiarist.
Yeah, he goes, he was trying to steal my work.
Yeah. So it's he couldn't deal with that. He had to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah. So but he's not above killing. He's not above killing somebody. The dean dies, he goes, we gotta do it now. This is the freshest body we're ever gonna have.
Yeah. No, he is. He's automatically, I mean, and then at that point too, Dan's on board because what else is he gonna do? He did he doesn't want to be in trouble for murdering his girlfriend's father. Mm-hmm. He kind of gets pulled into this whole weird science nightmare, and he really wanted nothing to do with it.
At all.
He's long for it. And that he gets in too deep and it's okay, well, you're in it now, so.
Yeah. I mean, at the point where I think the doctor gets, not the doctor, but the dean gets killed, that's, there's no point of no return for him. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he really is the protagonist of the whole story,
Yeah.
Poor guy.
So in my research, talking about West versus Dan, West's interest in reanimation is of a necrophilous nature. He claims to want to give life as a reaction for. And he's trying to just get information about life. Mm-hmm. His fascination with death is for his own sake. Mm-hmm. So that is kind of like what a necrophilus is they're just interested in death. But Dan is obsessed with, he's called a biophilus.
Okay.
So a biophilus, Dan has a genuine wish to save lives.
Mhm.
So he gets something out of this whenever he's with West, because it kind of parallels in the beginning and the ending of the movie. In the beginning, he's trying to save that woman. He's like trying to, do chest compressions and everything, trying to save her. And then the other doctors are like, you're not going to be able to do it. She's dead, like telling him to stop.
Yeah.
And then at the end too, you see that he's trying to bring back his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So they kind of parallel each other. So his interest in the reagent is to save people.
Yeah.
So he has like good motives.
Yeah.
He's like the angel side of it, and then West is like the demon side, like the.
Yeah, I would definitely concur with that. True. But the thing is, I feel like it's more like emotionless with him. It's just purely for the science aspect.
Oh,
of it.
yeah. 100%. 100%.
He just wants to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. He has no respect for the living. He doesn't have empathy. A body it's basically it's a machine to him.
Yeah, it's another thing to test and hypothesize about. And
yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, he's definitely crazy.
And even like the opening, there's like that cold opening with him and his other professor at the other school, and he's like the security's coming in and they're like, "Did you kill him?" And he's like, "No, I gave him life."
Yeah.
That was such a good scene. The way he says that.
It sets the tone for the whole movie. It's so good. Yeah. It's so good.
It's so good.
I love it.
What was the exact phrase? He's like,
"No, I think it's all he says. He goes, 'No, I gave him life,' and then it goes, big boom, 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 boom."
Yeah,
right to the theme.
It's so perfect.
Yeah, that movie. That scene. I really think you needed to set the tone for the rest of the movie. You know, let you know what you're about to get yourself into. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that I'm thinking about right now that we're having this conversation. That's kind of like, it would be an intriguing thing to answer. And I don't think they have an answer for it. What is his obsession with death? You know what I mean? They never think, did he lose a loved one? That's why he doesn't love anybody anymore. You know what I'm saying? They never even allude to this, but there's got to be some sort, like, to have that kind of focused fixation on it.
He has a god complex. Is from what I can find
that makes
in
sense,
my
actually.
research. It's basically that's like one of the themes of the movie is like being able to control life and death and having a god complex, and that feeds into his narcissism as well.
Good answer, thank you. Yeah, I was wondering because I was like, what is it? Like, what's his fascination with it? What drives him? It's god complex makes sense.
Yeah, he doesn't actually care about like saving people. He just wants to play God, and he wants to amaze people with his intelligence. He wants to be like, I'm the one. It's not much different than a serial killer who's like killing people and they say like, I'm doing this because they want to be noticed. They want to be known for something. He wants to be known for something. He wants to be known for discovering how to bring people back to life.
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating because there's a silver lining to it. Like, it's amazing if he does it right, but it's really self-fulfilling for him.
Oh yeah, and then it's totally fucked up when it doesn't work right because he doesn't consider like the families of the people who have died, like these, like what effects it would have to those people. Like what if they do have feeling coming back. Or something, and they could be in torture.
Oh, yeah, very. He's definitely a sadistic person in that sense.
Yeah, maybe you can answer this for me. So, in my research on this movie, it kept talking about like queer themes, but I'm not really. I don't see the connection, but I think people said the same thing about Frankenstein, that there were also like queer themes. Can you explain that to me?
So I know what the director's thoughts were on it.
Okay.
He was saying that those stories, Frankenstein, Re-Animator, are inherently masturbatory in the sense that it doesn't have a female like main character. They added the female character for the film adaptation because they needed that sort of like visual relevance to why it's important to have women, you know, in life and stuff like that. I know that was part of it. Stuart Gordon was also saying that in regards to those things, you know, a lot of these movies are just men trying to, you know, procreate without women. That's what that is.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And yeah, I mean, we have our final, like, we don't have a final girl.
Yeah. Well, there's a scene actually where she says, "What about us?" She goes, you know, he's like, "You said he just created life." He goes, "But what about us?" Barbara says that. She goes, we could create life."
Yeah.
Know? So that's a completely throwaway line in the movie, but I think that's probably what he was trying to allude to with that. I mean, Herbert West strikes me as like asexual. I don't think he cares about that at all.
Yeah.
But he definitely wanted Dan there all the time. So, you know, I can see it. Yeah.
I mean, I can see him. He definitely seems to have an emotional connection to Dan. Like Herbert West, but I don't know if it's like more of like a pet. Like, I've got this.
See, I could see it being more like a pet. You know what I mean? Like he knows he knows what I'm right. So if I ask him to do something, he'll do it, kind of deal. You know,
or like a henchman or something.
He's his Igor.
Yeah.
Or you know, whatever the Frankenstein. Yeah, basically Dr. Frankenstein to his Igor. That's basically what it is.
Here you've got the hero instead of the heroine, which I guess, you know, that does play into the whole, like, you know, if I do actually, after our conversation, I am now convinced that there is like a queer part to it, which there's nothing wrong with that. It adds to it. Actually, I like that. I like the idea that it has that theme in it, especially for the time that it was made. So the special effects, we already kind of touched on that. Like, they're amazing. Like, just Hill and his head in that tray is so good.
Oh, he really sells it too. Like that guy, he was one of those. I think that was one of his first movies too. I don't think he was acting for a long time. He died not too long after that too. Oh. He died during the second movie. Oh. Yeah. So great in that movie.
Oh no, he was an amazing villain. He played such, especially like, I don't know, he got so just grotesque. When Dr. Hill has Wendy on like the stretcher, like slab bed thing, it's just like so gross. Like all the sounds he makes, he's sexually assaulting her and he's just a head. It's so nasty.
It's definitely outrageous. It's definitely a fucked up scene.
It's really fucked up. And he does such a good job playing this ravenous, like
depraved.
Yeah, depraved, gross. Just so fucking nasty. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. It's like once he realizes, it's almost like once he realizes that he himself is harnessing the power of life and death, he just turns into like the worst type of god complex you could possibly have. You know, he just becomes an animal. Another little subplot of the director's cut with the hypnotism. One of the first scenes, he goes to dinner with the dean, who's Megan's father. Yeah. And he tries to hypnotize him into going out on a date with his daughter, letting him go out on a date with his daughter.
Oh, they do? I do remember that scene, and I remember him being super creepy to Megan.
Oh, he's
just like staring at her the entire time. Like, he's being a fucking creep. He is a creep.
Yeah.
And him being reanimated didn't change. It just made it, every bad quality he had was like amplified by 100 times.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
It was disgusting. Also, the dark sense of humor that the director had to do that is fucked up, because
I saw a joke. I'm gonna make the joke.
You know where I'm going with this.
he's giving it.
Yeah.
And he's ahead.
Yeah.
And he was trying to go down on her.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going with it.
Gross.
Yeah.
It's so gross. I don't even want to make the joke. It's so nasty. But apparently who was the director again?
Stuart Gordon.
Apparently he does that a lot in his movies.
Yeah, he was very much the movie he did right after, which I fucking love, is called From Beyond. It's another H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. And in that one, Barbara Crampton does a lot. Yeah, and it's like the same thing. It's I guess it's horny. Is what it is. The guy's horny. You know.
Yeah,
definitely had a lot of sexiness is what he would consider it, and
which is
violence.
Not,
it was definitely
that's not sexy.
No,
it's not.
No,
it's the complete opposite of sexy.
Yeah, I mean those were his words in the documentary. I remember, so quoting the man. But he definitely, a lot of his movies have that element to it. You know?
I feel like he's probably a necrophiliac with the way that he films that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to cut this out. I don't want to call him a necrophiliac. I might. But,
you'd blow up overnight, though. Scream Queen calls Stuart Gordon a necrophiliac. That'd be great.
Maybe I'll keep it in. We'll see. I also saw a lot of parallels. Like, a lot of people were, like, kind of picking apart Re-Animator and comparing it to Psycho. Yeah. Which I get some of the comparisons, but I felt like it was kind of a stretch. Like, I know that there is some homage to Psycho, and they take like part of their song, like their theme song for Re-Animator was composed by Richard Band and is based on the iconic theme from Psycho by Bernard Herrmann.
Yeah. So there was a whole thing with that. He got sued. He actually got sued for it. I don't know what the result of the lawsuit was, but I knew that there was a lawsuit involved. From what I understand, he was very upset about it because he was trying to be like an homage to it. And it ended up being, I guess, a little too close. And whatever the case would be,
Yeah, and I know the whole story itself is very different from H.P. Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still elements of like Frankenstein.
Oh, sure. I mean, to me, that's modern day Frankenstein all the way.
As a woman who is going through this movie and like finding the themes and everything, I find it just, when it comes to Barbara Crampton,
mm-hmm.
she's a really good character. I like her a lot. Like, I'm always focusing on the female characters
mm-hmm.
because that's who I relate to the most.
Yeah, I mean, she's the innocent character in that whole thing, you know?
Yeah, she automatically, like, her intuition is, like, ticked off, and she automatically hates West. She goes into his room to find the cat. She's, like, her and Dan are, like, about to get, like, hot and heavy, and then she's like, no, something's wrong. Like, where's the cat?
Yeah, her intuition is spot on from the moment he answers the door. And Herbert West is there. He's like, hey, I heard you have a room available. And she's like, this guy's weird, dude.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
You know, so
she's like almost protective of Dan. Like, you can't let this guy in here.
mm-hmm.
She questions, like, why. I think she questions Herbert West to his face. Like, why were you kicked out of the school again? Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
But she's the only one, like, really asking those questions.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess that's like the mother figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking over. I mean, she ends up dying at the end, but, you know, with the reagent, she's brought back, obviously.
Yeah, they fridged her, which is, you know, unfortunate, but, you know.
Yeah.
In this particular case, because of the love that they had for each other, and he's also realizing in the moment that he didn't listen to her at all. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If he had listened to her, she wouldn't be dead. Yeah. And he goes, fuck, and then ejects her.
He's kind of a fuck up the whole time because he keeps doing stuff behind her back, trying to be secretive. Like, he's part of you know, he's there when her dad dies.
Yeah.
And he's part of like the cover-up story, and then he finally confesses. And I'm really surprised when he confesses to her and says, okay, your dad was dead, we injected him with the reagent and all this stuff. Like, I thought for sure she would turn against them and be like, hell no, like I'm not gonna have anything to do with this. But she's still like, but Daddy, I love him.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think the part where she might have been a little underwritten. I think Barbara Crampton did the best she could with the role, you know. Yeah. But, you know, there's certain aspects of it because Lovecraft didn't typically have women in any of his stories. So obviously, I think their intentions were good for them wanting to add a valuable female character to the story. Yeah. She is, in certain ways, just completely ridden with tropes, though, you know, which is unfortunate. But she's a sweetheart in real life. She did her best with the role, I think. And there's a reason why people still love her character so much.
Oh, yeah, no, her character is very lovable. And, you know, she's just like the innocent girl next door. Very, very pretty. She, you know, she kind of hits. She's got the nice sweater. You know, I don't know. Her hair is like a perfect little bob.
I know, it's insane.
Yeah, her hair always looks so nice. And she handles herself really well, especially when it comes to like that scene where she's getting sexually assaulted. She handles herself well. And I mean, even when she dies, she's still fighting. The entire time she's fighting. Yeah.
She never gives up, yeah. No. Fights to the end, yeah. She just, you know, for the sake of the cool ending, she gets fridged. Yeah.
No, I mean, and Dan, you know what? He could have saved her.
Yeah.
I feel like she was being choked for a long time. Yeah. And he was not far away. He was like fighting his own monster, right? He was fighting his own like zombie-fied corpse. Yeah. But still, you can't. There was time in between. I was paying attention to that. No, there's time. Like, he could have saved her.
He could have saved her. You know, it's part of his own, you know, obsession with whatever he was going on with that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He kept stumbling. He kept tripping in the movie. He had good intentions, but he never had a great follow through when it came to being 100%. A hero.
You know, and even in the sense that he was lying, it's not okay that he was lying, but it was always because he didn't want to hurt somebody. You know? And it's a big thing. Because it's like the, you know, it's the dude with the best intentions who keeps fumbling because he just can't. You know, it's his inability to stick up for himself and be straight up, you know.
Yeah. He's kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit. Sorry, dude.
I don't know if I'm going to upset anyone by saying that.
No,
but
it's accurate. I will stand by you on that statement.
Well, thank you.
It's kind of a bitch.
It's kind of a bitch. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think we pretty much walked through the whole movie and talked about all the aspects.
No, thank you for having me on the show. I love this movie. So I feel like, you know, it meant a lot that you picked me for it. You know, I enjoy talking about it and even learning some new insights on it that you gave me. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate you being here and giving me your perspective on it and, you know, and your in-depth knowledge because I know you're like a super fan.
Oh, I love this movie, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, Mr. West, I'm actually glad to see you. It saves me the trouble of having to send for you.
You'll never get credit for my discovery. Who's going to believe a talking head? Get a job in a sideshow.
Now it's time for the true crime of it all. H.P. Lovecraft wrote Herbert West's Re-Animator as a parody of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Lovecraft's story includes many references to Frankenstein and even hints at the poetry of Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So we will trace this origin story all the way back to the 1780s. Mary Shelley took inspiration for her classic monster, Frankenstein, from real events that took place in the late 1700s. One of the principal ideas that made up the creation of Frankenstein was animal electricity, termed by Luigi Galvani, a physician and physicist in the late 1700s. Galvani found through his experiments on frogs that muscles could be electrically stimulated. For instance, a leg kicks when a nerve is touched with a scalpel. He hypothesized that this animal electricity is an innate vital force in living tissue and is different from the electricity we see in other forms such as lightning or static. Galvani's nephew, Giovanni Aldini, took these experiments a step further and conducted electrical experiments on the dead bodies of animals, including sheep, dogs, and oxen. Not only that, but he experimented on recently executed convicts and did so in front of crowds around Europe. As he passed a current through the corpse's head, limbs moved and muscles contorted. Severed heads were even used for these experiments, causing their eyes to open or their faces to grimace. Truly the stuff of nightmares. From witnessing this, many believed that people could be brought back from the dead. Spontaneous generation, the idea that life could be created from non-living things, was not an outlandish idea at the time. Many people, including scientists, believed in the concept and used it to explain instances such as cheese being left in a dark corner, producing mice, or the presence of maggots on rotting meat. So, is there any truth to these theories? As it turns out, Galvani was indeed correct in his idea that an electrical stimulus can cause muscle contractions. However, his hypothesis that this reaction is due to an innate vital force within all living tissues is inaccurate. Similarly, while Aldini's experiments on corpses certainly took place, the belief that these bodies were being brought back to life, of course, is untrue. In actuality, muscles in deceased organisms remain electrically excitable as long as the necessary chemicals for contraction are still present. However, sustained contraction isn't possible. Electrical stimulation will only cause brief random movements. In short, shocking a corpse would not result in it sitting up and making any voluntary movements. Although dismembering body parts was a common practice among scientists at the time of Shelley's Frankenstein, the idea of organ and bodily transplantation was still very young. However, other Frankenstein-like experiments had been conducted by more modern scientists, including Vladimir Demikov, a pioneer of organ transplantation. One of his most famous experiments involved attaching the upper body of a small dog to the neck of a larger one. The two dogs were successfully able to eat and drink separately, but his longest subjects only survived for up to a month, despite the questionable ethics of his experiments. Demikov paved the way for organ transplantation in modern medicine. With the medical advancements that we have today, it may be possible to do procedures like head transplantation, the grafting of human head onto another body, which is extremely controversial, but there's an Italian surgeon that thinks this is actually feasible. However, many would agree that creating a being like Frankenstein is highly unethical. It would be difficult to do under today's medical laws, although we now view Frankenstein as a morbidly fantastical story. People at the time truly believed in the possibility of creating life through electricity, and Shelley's novel was a warning of the potential dangers of making that a reality. Frankenstein is a cautionary tale that serves as a reminder of the risks of unchecked ambition in science experiments, especially when you are experimenting with human life. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Let's end on a high note. If you would like to collaborate on something, I would love the opportunity to connect with more people in the horror scene. I did recently make connections with the Slashers podcast, and they're another local Orlando like horror movie review podcast, and they are really great, so you should check them out as well if you're listening to this. My goal is to have an episode a week. Please be patient with me as I am also learning all of this as I go. My next horror event at Conduit is going to be Monday, January 20th. It starts at 7 p.m. The movies that were my last 3 episodes are what I'm covering at that horror event. So it's going to be Wishmaster, Hellraiser, and Re-Animator. So you've got all 3 episodes. If you haven't watched the movies, or if you're like, you need a refresher and you don't have the full hour and a half to watch it, you can just listen to this episode and, with the synopsis, and then the analysis, it pretty much tells you everything you need to go into trivia prepared, or at least like the trivia part of the night prepared. The event is more than just trivia though. It's, an opportunity for community within the horror scene. Anthony's band, Trash Panda, they're going on tour. I don't have like a list of all the places they're going, but I know that they're going out of state and they're going to be gone for like a good 10 days. So check them out. If they are coming to a place near you, you should definitely go see them because they are a lot of fun. They're hilarious. They're great, really nice dudes. Like, you should go check them out. Support metal. When I say, so like my husband totally called me out on the fact that sometimes I'll say, please rate, review, and subscribe. Sharing is caring. And I need to be taken care of. When I say I need to be taken care of, I mean like I need you guys to take care of me in the way of like sharing my podcast and liking it and commenting and all those things. Like that is how you take care of me. I make episodes for you. You give me shares and likes and subscribes and all those things. That is how I get taken care of because I would really like to make this a career, and I don't want to go back to working as a teacher. I don't know what I wanted. I don't know what I would do, but I like doing this. And so please, sharing is caring. Take care of me by sharing this, by liking, subscribing, commenting. Even if it's negative, tell me what you think. Let me know if you don't like it. Try to piss me off. I dare you. I have a lot of patience. Yeah. Be careful what you wish for, and I'll see you next time. Bye.